Welcome to this podcast, the last episodes on the pursuit of worth. Listen, get inspired.
A very interesting question I get asked a lot about thought leadership. If someone wants to become a thought leader, where do you start from? So the biggest misconception people think is like thought leadership is something that is too difficult or nearly impossible, or that you must also be some professor or an academic to be able to be a thought leader. I think that is not necessarily true, and I would explain why, what I mean by that. So first of all, in order for someone to become a thought leader, you have to identify what I call the thought lines, dominant thought lines. Every single individual that I've spoken to, the starting point that I go to help them in their journey of becoming thought leaders is to say that, what is your dominant thought line? What do I mean by dominant thought line? So let me give you an example with myself. So in the last 10 or 20 years, I would say that the dominant thought lines, which means the thinking process that dominate what I do, include foresight, entrepreneurship, systems thinking, design thinking. These have become so dominant in my life, and this is what I teach, this is what I train people about, and I repeatedly think about them. So they become thought lines or dominant thought lines if you repeatedly think about them. There is this popular saying that what you constantly think about, you actually become. So the starting point to become a thought leader is to reflect, introspect, and see, in the last 5 years, 10 years, what are the most dominant thoughts that goes in your mind? If you can't go 5 years, 10 years, just take a short frame. Maybe go 1 year or even 1 week. What have you been thinking about in the last 1 week or in the last 1 year that dominates your thinking? Now, why this is important is, once you identify what are your dominant thought lines, then the next step is for you to see how can you mix and remix them, a sort of bricolage and pastiche. How can you mix and remix them to create a unique voice in your thought leadership process? There can ever be enough thought leaders, but you want your voice to be unique. You don't want it to repeat what other people are doing, and it becomes more like a DNA for you. So those are the two key takeaways. And once you identify your thought line, you identify how you can mix and remix them to create something new, the next step is for you then to actually do the thought leadership work. You have to read in that area, in that space. What are some of the most important books written in that area? Because you cannot become a thought leader if you cannot lead thinking process. So you have to find some of the most latest research, or maybe some of the influential books. They might not be latest, they might not be old, but some of the most influential. After that, the last step, I would say, is I always would encourage you, if you want to become a thought leader and be respected or influential for it, or make the maximum impact to the world, you need to create your system, your framework that is unique to you, that we will see this framework, this system, and we will say that this is attributable to you, this can be identifiable to you. And it's very easy to do all those things.